to WRPB and WRPB Studios. So, the gentleman sitting next to me, you might hear a million people say they do what he does, but I have learned over time that it takes a special person to do what he does. Sitting next to me is Nathan Todd, Florida Emergency Cleaning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's a million, when people say, oh, I need someone to clean, there's a million people.
Yeah,
But
there's a
there are
lot.
certain things they cannot do, correct?
Yeah. So the main thing that we do that's unique and really requires some special skill is the hazmat. It's really cleaning anything that goes beyond surface level. Anybody can clean, dirt off the ground or mud, but when you're dealing with mold or hazardous waste, biomedical waste, that requires a lot of knowledge and and what to use, understanding how it gets tracked throughout the house, and then how to kill each individual thing, where to take it. There's a lot there.
Why did you get into this?
I got into it. I just met a guy that was in it. So I actually started in like the hoarding cleanups. I grew up in a hoarding home, and it was
That would be me.
yeah. I grew up in one too, and it was a lot, and so I can empathize with that, and I don't know, I feel like I can empathize a lot with my clients because of my personal experience with it, and that's why I got into it. I had an opportunity, and I took it.
How long are you in the industry or around the industry?
Cleaning industry about 11 years. Well, I mean, technically, I've got family members that did cleaning when I was homeschooled, so I was working well before you're probably supposed to. But I my own business when I was 16, and then the last 5 as in the hazmat world.
So, going back to when you were 16,
Mm-hmm.
it was like, hey, Nate, look at my garage.
It was more than just that. Yeah, we did. I tried. I dabbled in all different types of cleaning. I mean, everything from just trying to find my place in it. I was doing a lot of the exterior cleaning. But yeah, I did a number of hoarding cleanup jobs. And I just kind of figured it out. But I had a lot of experience growing up, and I'm also one of 8, so there were a lot of messes
Wow.
in my home as well. So
Oh, yeah, 6 brothers and sisters or whatever?
6 brothers, 1 sister.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, you get into this, and let's go back. You're 16, and you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah, yeah, you have to. I mean, no one knows who you are. You don't know what you're doing. It was just a way to make some extra money and figure out. I didn't know what I was doing with my life then.
Well, you were born down here, so
Mhm.
you weren't shoveling snow.
No, no, no,
Okay.
so like, no,
We were shoveling snow where we were. Okay.
no.
I actually, my first job, I was
Uh,
almost 15, and I was working in a movie theater.
mhm.
And if I could make a living as an usher, I'd still be doing it.
Yeah.
I had a great time doing that. Did you find that, like for me, I think about being a hoarder
Mhm.
and thinking about having to move all this stuff. And now that I'm older, it's like, ugh, why did I get all this stuff? Do you have a lot of that? Like a lot of people wanting to cut back?
Yeah, yeah. There's like 3 major situations that we come into when we deal with the hoarding stuff. Actually, 4. So one is when someone's passed away and the family acquires it and they want nothing to do with it. It is completely overwhelming. 2 is people will go into a depressive state and they will just hoard because they just don't have it in them. They need to get past this depressive state, and then when they remove the stuff, they can kind of move beyond it. 3 is people just hoard out of necessity, like my parent situation. My dad was kind of, it's a long story, but he kind of didn't have the money to buy things, so he got an opportunity to get something, he would get it because he knew he couldn't afford it later. And then the last one is people just hoard because of sentimental reasons. They sometimes it becomes it's a mental illness that starts it. So there's the 4 main categories.
So you go, so someone calls you and says, hey, I need you to come by. Um, my mom passed away. Um, I live in New Jersey. They have a house in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next step for you?
Next step is showing up. When they're out of town, we arrange a time to set up a lockbox, meet with a neighbor, and then we just kind of see what's there. Sometimes we find mold. Sometimes we're not allowed to, I'm not an assessor, So I can't call it that. We'll find things that, hey, you might want to call an assessor. We'll find water damage. Sometimes they've passed away there, and then it's a mess there that needs to be cleaned up. We just kind of inspect the home for them and tell them what kind of conditions the home is in and what it could use.
So it's interesting because for lack of a better word, the biomedical, and the reason is, and I was telling you, because I've been around for so long, I've had a number of experiences. My second wife had Crohn's disease. And when I found her passed away, and I never looked at our bathroom because I was the husband, so I always use the guest bathroom. I never get to use the regular.
Smaller vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was a mess. With, I'm going to say, biohazard look. It looked like when the cops came, because she was only 45, there was an investigation because it looked like, not that there was, but it looked like a big fight ensued in the bathroom, and there's stuff all over the walls and the floor and stuff. Would that be considered a hazmat clean?
Technically, hazmat is anything that it's mostly bodily fluids. So it can be feces, it can be urine, anything with blood in it that can carry like a bloodborne illness. So feces can be hazmat, and people call us for feces checks all the time, and we do them. But technically, it's not hazmat unless there's blood involved.
So that opens the door. What is hazmat? So it's blood. What else?
Anything with blood, anything that could potentially have an infectious disease. The reason why we exist is to disinfect things that you can't see. So it started with kind of the AIDS issue way back. That's when people realized, hey, a lot of people are getting AIDS. We need to find a way to solve, and that's when hazmat companies became a thing, just to solve things like that. So it's really treating things that anything that can have a disease that you can't see.
What do you get the most calls for?
There's with just the way that we rank online, we get a lot of hoarding calls. Locally, we get a lot more. We cover the whole state, but locally we get a lot more of the mold, water, and fire. Across the whole state, we get a lot more hoarding, and then we have certain areas we rank really well for with biohazard cleaning.
Well, I guess I can understand if you're talking about how you're ranking online. You don't see a lot of hoarder cleanup.
Yeah,
So that would bring you closer to the top, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people it's a tricky thing to market for, and we've been marketing it for. I acquired a friend of mine's business. He actually passed away last year.
Yeah.
He's the one that brought me into this part of the cleaning world, and he had his website and company had been around for 11 years. So now it's at 15 years that hazmat cleanup has been a thing. My company's Florida Emergency. We acquired hazmat cleanup as well. And so he ranked really well for hoarding stuff. It's just how it worked, and it's just an older site, and he did a good job with it.
Okay, so do you go out and do it also still?
Yeah. I'm not above it. I was an owner operator for the first. It was 8 years. 8 years I was on the truck. I managed all of it. Last year we hired a full-time manager, so I stopped having to do some of that. But we work in crises, and so there are plenty of times that my guys need a day off. They're busy. They want a holiday off, and I go out and do it.
All right. So I've had a lot of people that have done cleanup and junk removal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been out there and found things that are of value?
Oh, yes. Yes. This is one thing that we have a wonderful reputation with. I mean, the reviews that we get, because we're very careful with who we hire. I mean, the most we've ever found was about $250,000 cash.
Oh, wow.
It was a lot. But, my employees, my employees are people that I've known personally, or it's a very rigorous process to work with us and be in the field, because you don't know what you're running across. The most entertaining thing that we've ever found was a bazooka. We found quite a few grenades, but I never expected to find an operational bazooka.
Oh.
And that was that was wild. But like, you need someone that you can trust when you're finding, when you can run. Last week we found about 25 grand in a box, and the family was out of town. So my employee calls me right away. Hey, found this money. Where does the client want it? I'm like, well, call the client, find out where they, and so we set it aside. But we're constantly finding. Well, we typically only find a couple grand. That's normal. But occasionally we find a substantial amount of cash, a Rolex, like we found all sorts of things.
Well, I mean, and it's prevalent that the family lives somewhere else, and the parent or parents pass, and they're older, so they've acquired stuff in their life, okay, such as a Rolex watch and stuff like that.
And sometimes this is the tricky part, is sometimes they're estranged because they're embarrassed of the mess, and so the family has no idea what's in that home. They, we always ask for a list, like, hey, what should we be looking out for? We don't just throw everything out immediately. We take our time as we're going through it. We can't guarantee we're going to find everything, but we always ask, like, what types of things, and we give them, like, jewelry, cash, valuables, and we give them that list. Those are almost always on the list. Very seldom does someone say we want nothing. It's happened where they're like, I don't care what you find. But it's always, we get signed copies, we text, we email, we make it abundantly clear what gets saved. We take videos throughout the process so that they know that what's going on before videos, and so that the family sees the things. And it's a lot. Sometimes they have no idea what's in there.
So, from stories I've heard, this furniture, they don't want the furniture.
Most of the time, yeah. Most of the time, the furniture gets thrown out. Because
Does it get thrown out, or do you donate it? I mean,
if it's worth donating, yes. But unfortunately, in a lot of these situations,
it's not worth donating.
no. If someone's been passed away in a home for anything more than 5 days, you can smell it throughout the whole home, and it's often not worth saving. But there's a home we're doing, literally went to today. We did a couple days ago. There's lots of stuff that we can donate. It's a local home in can't really say where, obvious reasons.
On the Treasure Coast?
It's on the Treasure Coast, and I think we'll be able to donate a lot of stuff because the family's from Georgia. Can't take it with them. They were well off. They don't care about the furniture, but we can donate a lot.
And you know what? That's so important because there are so many people that need, and they say one person's junk is another person's treasure. That's why thrift stores and garage sales all make it. I believe that I'm willing to say I'm a hoarder. Okay, I used to garage sale and thrift store and auction all the time. Now at this age, it's a little different because I'm trying to cut back. Because one is I'm older, and I'm not taking it with me.
Yep.
And two is what had value when you're younger doesn't always have value when you're older.
Yep.
Okay, I have a pretty pricey Movado watch. It's a mother of pearl, and it's 14 karat gold. Do I wear it? No. But I wear this, which is my Samsung watch, only because I'm older and it has fall protection. So if I fall, it'll call 911.
That's
okay.
handy utility.
Yeah.
Utility over price.
Right. So we got to think of those are the reasons we do some of the things that we do. But I had a friend, and her mom was a hoarder. And I remember her house. In order to get through the house, you had to jump over the newspapers, which have no value, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Okay? You had to take a run and then jump, okay, to get over these newspapers. I really don't understand it, but I do know that things I've purchased at thrift stores or garage sales or auctions have been valuable. So there are things that are valuable. What's the hardest thing to clean?
Oh man, you might be surprised, but it's kitty litter. Animal infestations. I'm dead. It's like concrete. We've seen homes where there's just stacks throughout a whole room because the people have good hearts. That's what hurts. Is like they really are trying to do good. They're alone. Some of them are lonely. Some just love animals, and they adopt all these animals. And what's really sad is it's not a good life for the animals. Typically, we find some dead ones in the mix because they're not in the right place of mind to handle. Very few people can handle 20, 30 cats.
Oh yeah, I have two. It's enough.
But so that has been one of the hardest things is you'll have like caked up kitty litter. We've seen up to a foot, and you're like shoveling it, and it feels like concrete.
Does that fall into hazmat?
It can. So
Because-
animals can. It's all about blood. Technically, biomedical waste is blood, and so you could call it that. It's definitely a hazard.
I have 2 cats, and we clean the kitty litter pan every day, and my wife does it because I call it a hazard.
It's one of the stinkiest things is honestly dog urine. We'll have homes where they have 20 dogs, and that to me is one of the stinkiest things when they just, and we're pretty used to everything. It doesn't really bother me, but
We're getting to the top of our time. How do people find you? You have a phone number?
Yep. The phone number, they might show up on the screen. It's 772-486-4100. The name again is Florida Emergency Cleaning, and that's our website, floridaemergencycleaning.com. That's my email as well, floridaemergencycleaning@gmail.com. They find us.
Everybody, I've said it a million times, and I'll say it one more time. Use a professional. If you don't use a professional, it's going to cost you 5 times more in money and 10 times more in frustration. God knows I have 2 cats, and if I go away for 2 days and come home, I don't even want to clean the kitty litter pan. And you have people that have more than 2 animals, and the place has got to be brutal for you guys to go away.
It's tough, and it's so hot with the suits and the respirators, and it's a mess.
Unbelievable. Nate, thank you so much for coming on.
Very nice to meet you, Wayne.
Everybody, use a professional, check them out, and we'll be right back.